Could I remind members to ensure that the volume on all tablet devices is off. Quickest way to do that function and F8. Any relevant financial or other interest in relation to today's business should be declared, and I members those no, there aren't. Switch off mobile phones as they may interfere with the sound recording system. The meeting will be on camera. The following members have offered their apologies.
Chair, I haven't had any yet, but I haven't had a chance to check emails, so there may be something.
Okay, we'll find out.
Chair, can I declare an interest at this stage as a block booker for the Northern Ireland home games?
Member of AFA accounts.
The draft minutes of the meeting on the 11th of February 2016, they're at page 3 in the table pack for a revised draft of the minutes of the meeting of the Thursday, the 11th of February. Please disregard the version of the minutes at point 21 in the main pack, and a hard copy has been provided. Could I seek members' agreement that these minutes are an accurate record of the meeting? Okay.
So it's in that pack in front, Chair.
Members agreeable?
Yeah.
Thank you. Brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the briefing from the IFA. And could I refer members to the Clerk's memo at page 11 of pack. This briefing was requested at last week's meeting, and the IFA agreed to attend on Monday afternoon. Therefore, they had no time to prepare a briefing paper to be included in the pack. Members may wish to refer to the decal response at page 81 in matters arising regarding a fans embassy at the 2016 Euros. The Minister states that the IFA will raise the issue with UEFA, Foreign Office and French security, and plans to meet with stakeholders in March. And we have 3 folk coming from the IFA today who are going to join us in a moment.
Morning.
Morning.
You're looking terribly well.
We are.
Did you expect us not today?
Terribly well.
Is that lady? Yeah, there she is now. We have with us 3 representatives from the IFA. Patrick Nelson, the Chief Executive of the IFA, Jim Shaw, the President of the IFA, Heather Wright, Sales and Marketing Ticketing Coordinator, and very welcome to the meeting this morning. Could you proceed with your opening statement, and then there'll be questions after that.
Chair, if you'd allow me to do so, first of all, good morning. We're obviously here to, at your request, to talk about the ticketing situation for the upcoming Euros in France in June, and some of the issues that have arisen out of that. And it'd be fairly straightforward if you allow me to do so, because we have the statistics, first of all, on the 3 games in question and how the ticketing across the various categories has turned out. And I think we would like to put that across to you so you understand the complete picture. And I know there's been some movement since the initial allocation of tickets. We've had some successes, in fact, very significant success in covering some of the gaps that appeared. And we'd like to go through that first of all before you question us, so that you can understand where we stand as of today. And I will allow Patrick to do that because he's got the charts and the figures that I don't have, and Heather will obviously support him where he doesn't have the detailed information. So can I hand over to Patrick and let him do that for you first?
Please.
Sure, through you.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Good morning, everyone. This issue came up last Tuesday morning when UEFA started to send emails out to supporters who'd applied for tickets for the 3 games in Euro 2016. In fact, actually all the way up to 7 games in Euro 2016, because some supporters with hopefully appropriate optimism have gone for the follow my team option all the way through to the final. So emails started to come out on Tuesday morning, and almost immediately we were contacted by quite a number of people who were very surprised that they hadn't got tickets for the Poland game, which is the opening game on the 12th of June in Nice. very surprised because they felt that they had a lot of priority points, and we'd worked with the amalgamation of Northern Ireland Supporters Club on the priority scheme. We'd submitted all the data to UEFA within the time frame that was required by UEFA, and as I say, quite a number of people were surprised. So we immediately got onto UEFA at the highest level. The Deputy General Secretary and the Director of the Euro 2016 project itself, and we explained to them that that something clearly hadn't gone completely right. We couldn't be absolutely sure what it was at that time, but we thought we'd probably worked it out. And UEFA looked at it fairly quickly, and within about 3 hours of us actually raising it with them, agreed to supply enough tickets to resolve the immediate matter that we'd identified, which is that a fair number of our top priority supporters who'd applied for Category 3 tickets, that's a ticket at €55 for the Poland game, had not been allocated tickets. We'd worked out the priority scheme with UEFA in such a way that anyone with what we felt was top priority, which was I think 17 points or more, should have got a ticket. And it was clear from the calls and the emails we were getting on that Tuesday morning that there was quite a lot of people well in excess of 17 points who weren't getting tickets. So that, clearly that's why we knew there was an issue. As I say, UEFA resolved that for us within about 3 hours by allocating enough tickets, enough extra tickets for that issue to go away. What we couldn't work out within that 3 hours, and it took us a little bit longer to do that, was what the precise process would be for those supporters who hadn't got tickets to be able to get tickets in the new tranche. And what we've eventually agreed with UEFA is that between UEFA and ourselves, we will validate all of the names that we think are in that area, and we will ensure, or UEFA will ensure, that only those people that we all approve will actually have access to the new ticket portal when it's opened. Just to finish this off, and then maybe we'd be happy to try and answer any questions on it. We then pushed a little bit further with UEFA in some more forensic detail on exactly how this issue had happened, and it turns out it was a very small inadvertent error made by UEFA, particularly with regard to the Category 3 tickets for the Poland game. There were roughly, and I'll just give you the rough numbers here because the maths is a little bit easier to do it this way. There were roughly 2,100 tickets available in Category 3, which is the €55 ticket for that game. We asked UEFA to divide it roughly 1/3 into Follow My Team, which is the people who were effectively saying, I'll have a ticket either for the group stage or for the quarterfinals or for the semis, etc. And 2/3 into individual ticket requests for the Poland game. The mistake that was made was that they sort of reversed that, and they put 2/3 of the available tickets into Follow My Team and only 1/3 into the individual ticket bucket. And the economics of that is very simple. We had twice the number of people, therefore, queuing up to get a ticket from the individual ticket bucket, and that's why half of them didn't get a ticket. And you'll also be aware that there were many people running around on the airwaves last week saying, I've never been to a game in my life, and yet I've got tickets. And the reason for that was that there was an oversupply in the Follow My Team bucket. So we'd asked for about just under 700 tickets to go into there, and UEFA put, I think, 1,000. I think they put 1,513 in there. So clearly, there were more tickets in that bucket than there was demand that we cared about, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of people who had no priority points who managed to get tickets from that. Sorry, this is a long explanation, but the last point I think is worth mentioning as well. We eventually went through with UEFA to indicate that of the oversupply that they made within the Follow My Team bucket, 428 of those tickets went to people who we thought had almost no priority at all. And so we made the point to UEFA, and this was on Thursday last week, so 2 days after the beginning of the issue. We made the point to UEFA that if you've allocated 428 tickets to people who really have no priority on our system, then we'd like you to find another 428 tickets so that we can start to allocate them to people who do have priority. And so that was the latest news on Friday, where UEFA allocated another 437 tickets to us, which will mean in the end that of the people who applied for single match tickets in Category 3 for the Poland game, the original cut-off was going to be 17 points, which was a renewing block booker, or a campaign card, renewing campaign card, who'd been to an away game as well. We've now managed to bring that down to 13 points, and that means that anybody who is in the system already, so this is not an opportunity for new people to apply, but anybody who's in the system already and who has 13 points or more should be able to get a ticket for the Poland game. So from a situation where Tuesday morning last week this was discovered, by Tuesday afternoon the original issue had been resolved with UEFA, and by Friday morning we had another 437 tickets which will eventually be allocated to people with priority. So again, Chair, apologies for the length of the explanation there, but I thought to give context to members it was worthwhile.
Thank you.
Perhaps, Chairman, if I could come in there listening to that, something we maybe missed saying. This is a computerised system developed by UEFA, and they insisted that every country, all 24 countries, must use it. In a different world and in a different era, we would have been allocating the tickets from top to bottom, probably ourselves, and would have had total control. But remember, this was developed by UEFA, and I would suggest it was developed to stop black market ticketing, or ticket opportunities. And they're even insisting on the next run for the ones that Patrick has mentioned, going through a portal in the same system. Albeit we will have much more input, and obviously we will make sure that those tickets go to the ones that deserve them from here. But you have to recognise that UEFA gave no choice in this. It had to go through their centralised new system as well, of course, and fairly complex, as you heard from Patrick. Different price categories, follow my team, etc., etc. So we've made a good recovery, in my opinion, but they insist and will insist on all ticketing coming from that system through the various portals. So thank you.
Thank you. William Humphrey.
Thanks, Chairman. Morning, and thank you very much for your presentation. Patrick, can I ask, did the IFA operate a priority system or a loyalty scheme?
Sorry, William, could you
Did the IFA operate a priority system or loyalty scheme? In other words, these plastic cards?
You mean recently?
In recent times, yeah.
We operated one some years ago, I think in around 2010, 2011 or thereabouts, but I don't think the data in that was robust enough for us to be considering it for the most recent issue that we've been dealt with, which is trying to identify who are the right people to get tickets for Euro 2016.
Why would the data not have been robust enough?
Well, we've had three systems in that period. We're with Ticketmaster at the moment and have been for the most recent campaign. We had another external provider before that for one campaign, and prior to that we had an internal system, and I'm not sure the data was anywhere near as robust enough in either the internal system in the first place or the first external provider that we used. So consequently, the only data that we've felt very confident about is the data that we have on the Ticketmaster system.
Which goes back how long?
It goes back for this campaign, but we're also, I think we're aware of who is a renewing campaign card holder.
So we're basically talking about the information you sent to UEFA in terms of the loyalty scheme was what?
The information that we sent to UEFA was actually built up from each supporter, because I think as a campaign card holder yourself, I think you'll be aware that we tend to work, or we have worked historically with lead block bookers. Quite often we haven't had every name on the system, So we have something like 8,500 block bookers, 8,500 campaign card holders, but we only have lead names in a lot of cases. So we needed to build up a system with UEFA where we had individual data, and that's why we looked in December to build up that priority data using individuals to actually put their own data in, and that's what we sent to UEFA at the end of January.
Right. So did UEFA implement or adopt your scheme, your system?
Yes, they did. They did. As I say, the one thing that went slightly awry in this is that UEFA inadvertently oversupplied the Follow My Team bucket for Category 3 tickets for the Poland game.
So UEFA prioritised the Follow My Team scheme?
They put more tickets into that particular bucket than we advised them to.
So they did. Could you tell me, did the IFA, because England qualify for World Cups and European Championships pretty much every time, did the IFA speak to England and how the English FA were going to operate in terms of the allocation, or indeed had operated in previous campaigns?
We may have had some early conversations with them, but I think we were fairly confident that we could actually create, devise and execute a priority scheme by ourselves with the information that we got and the staff that we had. And I think the evidence that we have indicates that that has worked extremely well, with the one exception that the Category 3 tickets for Poland didn't work out exactly as we would have hoped, but within 3 hours that issue was resolved by an extra supply of tickets from UEFA.
Yeah, because, I mean, perhaps you might be able to be in a position or not, but my understanding is in terms of how the English FA, who obviously have huge experience in dealing with this issue, and in terms of scale as well, in terms of the percentage number of followers that they will have, that basically the FA, UEFA sent the information to the FA. The FA then compiled its list and sent it back for each game and sent it back for UEFA to process. You'd be aware that that's how it worked.
Personally, I wouldn't, but again, I'm not sure why we would pick one of the other 23 teams in the competition and expect that they had a better system than we had.
Purely because they're a fellow British association who qualify on a regular basis, I would have thought.
But I think if I can just reiterate, the priority system that we put together has allocated tickets in every way as we would have expected to, except for one area, which was Category 3 tickets for Poland. When that issue came up, and the issue was created due to an inadvertent mistake at UEFA, it was resolved within 3 hours with an extra supply of tickets.
Yeah, but look, we've all been inundated, Patrick, with, you will have read in the press, heard or watched in the media, of Northern Ireland supporters across the country who basically have not got. I've had constituents who've come to see me, spoke to a gentleman last Friday night, 27 points out of 29, didn't get a ticket for the Poland game. Now, you know, and there are many other examples that you will know, that we will know, of how people who have points in excess of 20, nearing the 29 maximum, and they didn't get tickets. So the system didn't work. That's my point.
But with respect, William, we identified this within a very short time on Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And within 3 hours, we had worked out a solution with UEFA. So the system didn't work in that UEFA oversupplied one bucket of tickets, which was Follow My Team, for Category 3 for the Poland game, and undersupplied the individual tickets for the Poland game. The way that they resolved that was by identifying a new block of tickets quite quickly, within about 3 hours, And we were able to announce that day that anyone who was in that group of 17 points above, who had missed out on a ticket, would get access to a new portal. So the issue, there was one issue, and it was resolved fairly quickly.
Well, with respect, my constituent didn't get one, and he tells me there are 36 people with more points than him who could have got tickets, and for the polling game, in terms of loyalty. So, and he is one. I'm using him as an example because he is a constituent of mine who came to see me. But there are hundreds out there, if not thousands, in the same position. So, you know, and can I ask you, all of your answers in terms of addressing this issue have been predicated around the polling game. What about the other two games?
Well, on the other two games, if I could just give you a couple of statistics on that one. And again, maybe we'll stick with Category 3 tickets, because that's those are the €55 tickets. There's a large number of them for each game. For the Ukraine game, we have 97.47% of people in our top priority group who actually got tickets, who applied for a ticket in Category 3 for the Ukraine game and got it. And the cut-off in terms of priority points for the Ukraine game on its own was 0.5 points. So pretty much anybody with priority would have got a ticket for that game in Category 3. In addition, we had almost 80%, 79.16% of people with almost no priority for the Ukraine game who got tickets within the single match category for Category 3 price tickets. We go on to the Germany game. We had again, and the top priority group, and for Germany it was 14 points, because we adjusted the points each time based on the demand and the supply of tickets. 97.35% of our top priority group, so 14 points and above, actually got tickets for that, and 93.55% of the next group down in terms of priority got tickets for the Germany game as single match tickets. Everywhere there's about a 2 to 2.5% error margin in terms of people who maybe didn't have their date of birth correct, who maybe didn't have the funds in their credit card account, or there was another issue with their application. We've probably, I don't know, Heather might know exactly how many queries we've handled over the past 9 days on this, and I think we've only found, excuse me, we've only found one instance so far that relates to either the Ukraine or Germany game where a ticket should have been allocated and wasn't allocated. In every other case that we've looked at, the system has worked okay, and the people who we would have expected to have got tickets have got tickets. But let me say to all members, because I'm sure you all have constituents who've been in touch on this, we're very happy to check out any more individual cases. So if anybody has any individual cases, please send them to us. We will check them out, and we'll try and give an assurance that either this did or didn't fit into the priority scheme appropriately.
Can I just ask, did the IFA hand back 1,400 tickets to UEFA?
Not that I know of. I don't. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit? What does that mean?
I think you're referring to the newsletter article yesterday with regards to the internal tickets.
I'm not referring to any article, it's just information that's been passed to me.
No, we're not. We haven't handed tickets back. I think if...
So this figure is 1,400 figure is...
That's been misinterpreted.
What
Each
is the
association has up to 2,000 tickets that they can take. They are internal tickets, but they come out of the overall participating national associations allocation. So for Nice, in December, whenever we had started this process, our ticket number was 6,000. If the association were to take 2,000 tickets out of that, the fan tickets would be reduced to 4,000. So no, we didn't hand tickets back. We put them into the fan allocation.
Okay. And can I just ask, Patrick, in terms of the 1,200 tickets that were made available for Poland, Where did they come from, and can something similar be done for the other games? Because obviously other fans out there are asking that question in relation to those two games that have somewhat lost in this.
Well, it's a very good question. Where they came from is, I think UEFA are building up each stadium for each game almost from scratch. They're starting with a blank sheet and then putting blocks of tickets in for various areas. I think members who have an interest in this will know that there was quite a large public sale last year of tickets for all of the games before anybody knew actually which games, who was going to be playing in which stadium. So UEFA have almost built up every stadium from scratch on a game-by-game basis. When we contacted them last week, they were immediately able to find us what they said was nearly 900 tickets to begin with. That turned out to be 839, to be precise. We then pushed further in the week and we got another 437 tickets. So that came to 1276, and that's the extra tickets we have for the Poland game. We haven't the insight as to precisely where UEFA have got those tickets from, whether it's their own allocation, whether there is an allocation that's been returned from the other country. I suspect very much not in the case of Poland, because I imagine they will have high demand as well. It may well be that they had unsold tickets from the general sale. I don't know. But what we've got is 1,276 tickets for the Poland game, in excess of what we had last Tuesday morning. We've pushed on them a couple of times already for the Ukraine and the Germany game, with less success so far, but we'll continue pushing. But what I can say, and I won't be able to give you a detail in terms of how these will be allocated yet, is that we've secured, and this is news, so we haven't announced this anywhere yet, we've secured another 505 tickets for the Ukraine game, and we've secured, and I know this doesn't sound like a lot, but we've secured 93 extra tickets for the Germany game at this point. So in terms of where we started with our original allocations, we're 35% up on the Poland game, we're 20% up on Ukraine, and we're 20% up on Germany. But we'll carry on having conversations with UEFA as they get round to allocating more tickets. So 2 days ago, for example, they hadn't done the allocation to German fans at all. And only when they've done the allocation to German fans will they be in a better position to talk about the Paris game. So we'll carry on having those conversations with them, and if we can get more tickets, we absolutely will. I should also mention that there is a resale portal that will open at some time in the near future, and that's based upon those tickets that were bought in the open sale last summer. And it may well be that when people bought tickets last summer, they might have bought tickets thinking they might be going to see France v Germany, and Northern Ireland versus Poland isn't what they want. So they might put those tickets back into the resale portal. And we're in conversations with UEFA as to how that will work. I suspect that will be a little bit more first come, first served when that's opened. And so, you know, our supporters will have to be ready on their keyboards at that moment. But that's still to be proved in its entirety.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairman.
Gordon Dunn.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you very much for coming in today, and we appreciate your contribution so far. When people applied initially, they went on to the UEFA database, is that right? Yeah, and entered their information and indicated the number of games they went to and so on. How was that information verified? And what sort of process was put in place to ensure that those that were, again, the loyal supporters got priority or should have got priority?
The application for the tickets was done via UEFA, but the preliminary priority was that information was put together by ourselves. So before Christmas, we spoke to the leading bookers. We invited them to tell us who attends the match with them. We got the email addresses of each individual, and everyone was sent a survey to fill in. So you could tick a box to say you were a campaign card holder, or that you had been to the Greece or Hungary home games, or you had been to an away game. And we then had all that data compiled into a sheet. We were able to allocate points accordingly, which we published in a little 12th-man guide to the whole process that we had made available before Christmas. We then verified using the account numbers and the ticketing history, so the Ticketmaster Ticketmaster database that we work with. Each account has a little six-digit reference number. So if you book on behalf of 3 friends or 3 family members, they can all be verified using that one account number. So we carried out a stringent process to verify that data. And where there were fans who we couldn't trace the history back, who had claimed to be at 2, 3, whatever many matches, we gave them a second opportunity to verify that data. So it may be that they had provided the initial information without the relevant account number, but we went back to them and asked them to do that so that we could allocate everyone's points fairly and accordingly.
So can you give us and obviously supporters an assurance that that system was robust?
Absolutely.
And you're satisfied that it was a robust system, and you are willing to stand over it and give us assurance that it was correct, the information was, and that everyone that applied was genuine in what they done?
Absolutely. So everyone that shared the information with us, we have that.
Yeah. So you went through all that, and then was then that related to the UEFA system?
So it was cross-checked against the UEFA applications, so we could see if someone...
Who done that?
The Irish FA did that.
You're telling that?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So we could see if somebody had applied for Germany Category 1, we were able to say, OK, that person has 12 points, they fall in here. And we were able to then see, yes, that 17 points should have been sufficient for the Category 3 Poland game and figure out all the different scenarios.
So obviously it was a complex operation, it certainly sounds.
Right. Yes.
I think we should say there perhaps that we recruited several people to work on this because it was a very big task. Thousands of people, obviously, that we had to build a database for.
Appreciate that, yeah. So, okay, you're fairly sure that it was a robust system. Right. One question that we have brought to our attention is these additional tickets, obviously, to be fair, are very, very welcome, and especially in relation to Poland. What about the cost of those against, for example, a supporter with 27 points and applied for Category 3 tickets? They basically would have been guaranteed them at €55. Is that still going to be the case?
No, the tickets that are going to be made available are going to be a complete selection of categories. They're going to be Category 1 through to Category 4. And some of them are going to be more expensive, but actually some of them are going to be cheaper as well. So UEFA have decided to apply a discount to some of them because they may have restricted views, for example. So there's going to be a complete range of prices right from the top to the bottom. And our supporters will be the only ones who have access to that portal. And they will be able to choose which category of price they go for.
But obviously, the supporters will be having to pay extra because of a mistake that was no fault of theirs.
Yes, I think we appreciate that, and that's an unfortunate effect of the situation that we're in here. Our focus last week was really to make sure that we could actually get some tickets available for them, and we were able to do that. Having said that, there will be a range of prices.
So there will be a variance on what they originally thought they were going to get them at?
There will be a variance. Some of it will be upwards and some of it will be downwards.
What about compensating these loyal supporters, or have you given any thought to that, or how you may address that issue?
I don't think we have given any thought to that at this point. We can certainly raise that with UEFA.
Yeah, you will do?
Yes, we can raise it with UEFA, and we will.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay. So altogether, how many additional tickets have you got? Just to clarify, you talked about 15, 13 and 437, was it?
No, 1513 was the number of tickets that went into the Follow My Team category. The precise number of extra tickets for the Poland game was an original number of 839 plus an extra number of 437, which were secured late on Thursday night, and that should add up to 1276.
Right. Right, the 1513, what was that figure again there?
That was the number of tickets that UEFA put into the Follow My Team category when they originally did the allocation. and that was a higher number than we expected that they would put in there. So that was the oversupply
yeah.
within the Follow My Team category.
So a number of people got them. They got the higher priority tickets that really shouldn't have got them because they hadn't got the loyalty points. Is that correct? How do you explain that again? The oversupply?
Yeah, there were two buckets for tickets. There was 2,100 tickets in Category 3 for the Poland game, and we would have expected that 2/3 of those tickets went into the individual ticket supply, and 1/3 into Follow My Team. And without going through the absolute detail, it was roughly the other way around, which UEFA applied. So they put 2/3 of the tickets into Follow My Team and 1/3 into individual. So only half the people who we expected to get tickets in the individual category got them, and naturally, because there was an oversupply in Follow My Team, that went down to people who had got no priority points with us.
Yeah.
I think very difficult then for UEFA to try and take those tickets back from people.
Yes, I appreciate that. That's correct. So, obviously, you're in negotiation with UEFA about this, and to be fair, you've made quite a bit of effort and made some progress, but it is important that they put in place changes to their processes and procedures to stop this happening again. I think we'd need some assurance that that will not happen. I think that is important, and I'm sure if you were to do this exercise again, the AFA and others would have already learned lessons as to how you would proceed in the future.
Well, I think, to be fair, we would proceed in the way that we did this time, in that we've allocated a priority scheme which we think has worked quite well. We can't give any assurances on behalf of UEFA because we're not UEFA. We're the Irish Football Association, and we can give assurances on our behalf, but not on anyone else's. What I can say is that we've been working with them on these matters, not only for the last week, but for the past couple of months. And as soon as this issue came up, they identified it and worked with us to resolve it. So I think I'd give them some credit for that. And I'd give them some credit for finding us another 437 tickets on Thursday night, and an extra 600 or so that we've just mentioned here for the Ukraine and the Ukraine and the Germany game. And we'll carry on working with them. And I think they will be much more aware now of who they're dealing with at the Irish Football Association, and they'll know that we won't lie down and just take any information from them. We will fight the corner for our supporters.
Well, absolutely. As you can appreciate, there's been a lot of anger, a lot of disappointment among supporters, and yourselves and AFA are in the front line of fire, and you probably are used to that. But that is the case. You get the blame, and people will pass on the blame very quickly. But I think it's important that you continue to do what you're doing and come out robustly and defend what you've done, because there was a serious mistake made here in relation to the allocation of tickets, which was outside your control. And I think you've given us some assurance today that what you've done and the stages you've gone through were robust, and that people were going to be allocated tickets. But whenever it went to the UEFA, that's where the problem lay, and you're now trying to address it.
If I could say, it's no consolation, obviously, but two of the other countries who had the run done early have similar problems to us, and one of those is Wales, and I think the other is Belgium. There's no consolation, but there's pressure from those countries, I'm sure, back in UEFA as well. Relevant to your point, will they do it differently the next time and get it better organised for priority supporters? And no doubt, I have no doubt, and I couldn't prove this, but there will be tickets got through I hope, through the buyback process, which can't predict that, but there will be opportunities to get tickets. And from experience, being a supporter over 55 years and 2 World Cups, everybody finds a ticket. It didn't work the right way here, obviously, and we made a big effort, as Patrick has demonstrated, to recover the situation, and we'll continue to do so. And my objective would be that obviously every person who deserves a ticket, in other words, loyal supporter, as you said, William, gets a ticket. They may have to pay more for it, unfortunately. That is the situation we're in. But all of those supporters I know, and I've had a lot of complaints as well, or queries, would jump at buying the most expensive ticket today and wouldn't question it. I know that's a throwaway, but it's true.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. Unlike my colleagues, I'm not a football fanatic, so excuse my layman terms. It seems a lot has been done to correct the situation, and you've described what further tickets have been allocated. I'm just wondering, bearing in mind that there's a fixed number of tickets for these matches anyway, where would all the surpluses be? Would they be held by the European body, or would they be held by various other clubs or by third parties for resale?
I think it's a complex question and quite a good one. We don't have a complete insight into that. We were given our allocation for the 3 games. We don't completely know, or we don't have a great insight into what the other allocations are. We have been assured by UEFA that the participating national associations are treated equally. So I would expect that Germany would not have been allocated any more tickets than us for the game that we have in Parc des Princes on the 21st of June. I would expect that Poland haven't been allocated more tickets, and I would expect that Ukraine haven't been allocated more tickets. Outside of that, there will be a large number of tickets that UEFA have allocated to their sponsors. There's a large number of tickets that I referenced before, which went on public sale last summer.
It was 50%, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was 50% of the total capacity went on sale in June to the world. So that's half of the capacity gone at that stage.
And then there will also be some tickets that UEFA are holding back for detailed planning or last-minute emergencies, and I suspect that the extra tickets we've got for the Poland game were ones that they would have been holding back for what they needed to hold them back for, and clearly an issue came up last week and they used the tickets.
Jim's point there is actually a question I have for you on the open sale. Well, what protection, if any, is there that those don't just become simply black market tickets for resale?
Well, the open sale will be the resale portal. It's a resale portal rather than an open sale portal, but I don't know what protection we know about there, but that's really a matter for UEFA to manage, to try and ensure that those tickets are sold to the right people. It's my understanding that certainly the tickets that we've been allocated here, and I would expect the tickets for other national associations, will be named and will have names printed on them. And there will be, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, a very high degree of security around the games. So I think UEFA are doing as much as they can to try and ensure that black marketeers don't profit from this. But I don't think they can completely control the fact that tickets will go out there onto the black market. They may well be able to control whether those people actually get into the ground or not.
Okay, thank you.
David Hilditch.
Thanks, Chair. As I said, a number of the questions have already been asked, but just following on from Leslie's question there, I think already there's some evidence or some pointers out there to some tickets being on sale on the internet already for about £2,500 each. I know maybe not yourselves, but would UEFA have a security system whereby that type of information can be passed on and the person who is selling those tickets traced, or how does that work?
Absolutely. So whilst people have purchased tickets to date, they haven't been sent those tickets, so they won't be sent them until about 4 weeks before the tournament. So any of the tickets, as you've mentioned, that might be on sale at the moment, we're able to flag to UEFA's legal team, and if they can trace then, you know, who they belong to, absolutely those tickets won't be
issued to start with
at all.
Yeah.
So a lot of the fans actually, you know, in their frustration have been in touch with me directly on that. And anyone who flags an issue like that, it's straight off the UEFA's legal team, because we're not able to do anything about it, whereas they can.
And equally so whenever it comes to time that the tickets have been issued? similar operation or information passing can take place to allow traceability of those tickets?
Yes, and again, Patrick's right in his point. UEFA have said that the names will be on any given tickets, and certainly with the security situations in France, we expect there to be stringent checks in place.
And I think if I could add to that, that's why this so-called resale, we call it, Patrick. People who got them last year and don't want to go to the game can sell them back into the system,
portal, yeah.
and they can be bought out again. That makes them continually traceable, because if you don't do that and you hand it over to somebody or sell it to somebody, they then don't have the appropriate name on the ticket when it comes out 4 weeks before the tournament. So there's a high degree of checks within what they've done in the computer system, as you can imagine. They're not can check everybody, in my opinion, going into a stadium that holds 50, 60, 70,000. But if they pick you out and somebody suggests that every 10th one will be checked, and if your passport that you have to have with you or your identification doesn't match the ticket, you probably won't get in. And that's a big threat from previous tournaments where all you had to do was have a valid ticket. So it became, I have to say, overall, this has become a much more complex situation because of what they've tried to do with it. Much more complex. It's not a question of getting a pile of tickets on the table and hand them out to the priority people as you go down the list. So, and it's obviously caused trouble across a lot of the countries. And I don't know whether they've all been allocated yet or not. I don't think all the countries have got their runs done yet. So they'll all be going through that process of learning from experience, that it's not as simple as it looked in the first place.
Yeah, of course. But obviously, share Mr. Dunn's optimism. We might have to go through this again at some stage in the future. That means the team will be successful
Well,
again.
I was delighted to hear that, because that would suggest we're going to get there.
Absolutely.
Again. We'll have
Just
to.
Moving back to the priority list had to be submitted to youth by the 29th of January. I think is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Was that a date given by then, or is that just as soon as we got it ready, we forwarded to? That was the deadline date to be submitted.
Deadline date.
Because obviously things happened quite fast after that. And you're sort of looking at it thinking maybe it was too quick to switch the allocation, not to benefit ourselves, those who haven't been allocated yet. Obviously the lessons have been learned for them guys. But since we were first in, obviously we probably came up against the hiccups at the early stages.
We probably did, yeah. Could have. May all have learned from us earlier on. I think Wales were early on as well, weren't they, and Belgium?
Yeah, everybody.
And they both had similar problems. We understand it to ourselves. How they've come out of it, we don't know, of course. But,
but
so it's not surprising when you install.
That was the deadline you forgave us, was the 29th of January.
When you put in a new system like this from experience, especially as complex as this with various parameters, it's not surprising that they have some issues with it when it runs against real data.
Yeah. So basically we want to go away from this meeting today with some comfort for the genuine and loyal supporters out there. So are we basically saying today that anybody with sort of 17 points plus at this stage could be virtually guaranteed, if they've gone through the process and done everything correctly as required on the application, anybody with 17 points or above is virtually guaranteed a ticket at some stage or in the future for the 3 group matches? Would that be fair?
Well, I think what we're saying, to be fair, David, is the issue of contention is the people who didn't get tickets for the Poland game primarily. As I say, we've gone through a number of queries on the Ukraine and the Germany game, and we've only found one so far where a ticket should have been allocated and wasn't allocated. The issue is primarily around Category 3 for Poland, and there were 835, I think, people or thereabouts who should have got tickets in that first round but didn't because of the supply-demand imbalance, and they should all get tickets as long as their date of births match, their email addresses are okay, and they have funds on their credit card account when the new portal opens. And ourselves and UEFA will try and validate all of that data between now and when the portal opens. In addition to that, because of the extra 437 tickets that we managed to get a supply of, that will take us down to anyone with 13 points or more.
For the Poland game?
Yes, for the Poland game, but people who applied, not people who might apply tomorrow, because that's all closed now. So, so the original expectation for the Poland game was that it was going to be 17 points and above, and that will be met. But with the extra supply of tickets, we will go down to 13 points and above.
Okay. A couple that contact themselves have indicated sort of administration errors made in maybe in their part, i.e. date of birth being wrong or something. Now, while they've been refused at this stage, can that be amended for those folk to fall into the category if they submit the correct information?
I think it's fair to say that they'll be on a reserve list. So once we get the data back from UEFA, we'll address it once again, top to bottom. So working from 29 points down, and once we address the allocations that have been applications that have been correct, we'll have to try and look at those individual cases, and we will do that.
Okay. And you were saying about the malfunction in relation to the insufficient funds and wrong dates and various things. Was there there was an issue over whether to use a debit or a credit card as well? Was that factual? Was that correct? And was it a disadvantage or?
So the advice that UEFA gave us to share with our fans was that they should use a credit card, because there were more guarantees with credit card payments than with the debit card payments. So that was the information that we share with our fans. Now, some Visa debit payments have worked, but UEFA couldn't guarantee those in advance. So they absolutely shared with us, that the credit card was preferable, and so that was the information we shared.
Okay. At this stage, I think that most of the other questions have been asked.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hosking.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks. Just for clarity, for my own clarity, tickets here we're talking about are Category 3 alone for the Poland game. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That's
How
where.
many is there of those?
There were 2,100.
And then the addition of
tickets for Category
437.
3. Well, that's an extra set. So
Yes,
to go back to the beginning on it.
No, that's
Okay.
just clarity. Is there other categories then as well?
3 other categories?
Yes, there are 3 other categories. For context, the Category 3 ticket we've talked about was €55 per ticket.
Yeah.
Category 4 was the cheapest, that was €25 per ticket.
Yeah.
Category 2, moving up the scale, was 105, and Category 1 tickets were €145 per ticket.
And how many of those, how many were there in total?
Well, if I look at the allocation for the Poland game, there were 2,364 Category 2 tickets and just under 500 Category 1 tickets. So the bulk of tickets are in the Categories 2 and 3.
So it's about 6,000 tickets in total?
Well, at the moment, we're up to just under 8,100 tickets now with the extra allocation that we've got for the Poland game.
Right.
The original allocation was 6,000.
6,000 was the original.
Okay, and for the Category 3 tickets, this was acting upon information that you provided in terms of loyalty or in terms of point system or to UEFA?
It's a mix of both. It was also that people applied for tickets in various categories. So, you had a choice of applying for a Category 1 ticket if you wished, or a Category 4 ticket. And so the focus has been on the people who applied for Category 3 tickets.
But that was irrespective of what points you would have previously?
Yes.
Yeah, you all applied equally in that sense, but I think what's missing in that one is, and Patrick has explained it twice, the Fulhamite team was given authority, and more tickets were put into that than we had expected. You get the numbers. And it took first priority.
Okay.
So it used up some of those tickets that would have been there for individuals if it hadn't been done that way.
So, and this sort of works in this Fulhamite team is obviously, then is there a campaign card I heard mentioned?
Oh, no, that's ours. That's
And the
locally.
12th man database then refers to the point system?
Yeah.
Okay. If the shortfall in the Category 3 is such, and we're hearing that people are missing out, and I heard some conversation about compensation there, surely that would be UEFA's issue.
Well, it certainly would
Logically,
be.
it would be, yeah.
It would be more of a UEFA issue than it would be for our issue. But I think, as the President said, many of those supporters may just be happy to get a ticket. Some of them will get tickets that are cheaper, some of them will get them at the same price, and some will be able to buy them at a more expensive price. And I think we will ask, as Mr Dunn suggested, we will ask UEFA whether they will find any way of compensating. I wouldn't personally hold out any hope for that today, but what we have been able to do is to get access to tickets.
Right. And theoretically, people could actually end up paying more for these tickets then, right across the board?
They could pay more or they could pay less, because there will be tickets in the new portal. There will be tickets in all 4 categories.
I think it's simple now. When if it's a ticket different to the category they requested, they'll either pay more or less depending on whether it goes down.
Not actually more, as in physically more if they're paying for it.
Not more for the same ticket. It's a different category of ticket they might get.
Okay, okay. And I take it that the minute those who have applied for tickets are sitting on a letter of offer, for want of a better word, or they have that has been acknowledged.
The ones we're talking about in this category are guaranteed. They will be in this portal for the run of, what is it, 1,276 tickets.
Right. And where would the problem be there in issuing names on tickets? There shouldn't be a problem.
No, there shouldn't be. This should be a complete clear run for those number of supporters that get those tickets.
Okay.
If it's not, we're back in another problem situation.
Right. And there's no issue with the ticket provider, the ticket master or anything there?
No, it's through the UEFA. This is
Previously had used an external provider.
we did locally.
We did, but
locally.
remember that this isn't actually our competition. So we're not the promoters of the competition. This is a UEFA competition, and they're selling the tickets.
Who's that external provider locally here?
We
work with Ticketmaster
here for Windsor Park.
Right. Okay.
Or National Stadium.
Did you use the Opera House at one time?
Yeah, we did. We
Yes,
did use them for one campaign.
One campaign.
And there was a bit of hoo-ha at that time about that.
It was expensive. I have to say that openly. It was expensive.
Okay. And the internal system, that was prior to that, was it?
Yes, that was a number of years ago now.
It was more conventional. That was walk in the door and get handed a ticket.
Yeah. Okay. Good old days. Right. Okay. Thanks.
Sorry, next one is Conor McKevitt.
Thanks very much. A lot of the questions have already been asked. I just want to know what facilities are in place for those travelling that have a disability that maybe didn't get the ticket that was maybe required, or were they automatically given tickets?
Heather will do that one if you don't mind.
So again, they're part of the same, priority system, and we know that the number of tickets that were requested by our fans for either easy access or wheelchair seats in the stadia was lower than the capacity. So we felt that all those fans had, almost certainly guaranteed tickets. UEFA work with an agency called CAFE in Europe, CAFE. It's an agency that specialises in accessibility around sports stadia and particularly football, and they assessed the applications. Now, it appears that some of our fans have failed, and they've provided blue badges as proof of disability, and it appears that that has been deemed ineligible. So we have questioned that with UEFA, and it appears that people who uploaded a copy of a DLA eligibility letter were successful. So we aren't sure of the number of fans that are affected by that, but I've been in contact with UEFA as recently as yesterday with regards to that issue, asking them to look into it further, because obviously what we deem, appropriate, they've deemed, ineligible, and we want to address that issue as well.
And how do you follow that up with those that have applied that maybe weren't accepted, their blue badge wasn't accepted?
So really we need the data back from UEFA on who hasn't been successful, to see, if it is a large portion of our fans who would attend the home games or indeed the away games. And once we know the number of, the numbers, we can look at each individual case. But certainly on the anecdotal evidence that I've received so far, it appears to be the blue badge that's been deemed ineligible. So,
and is that why it's shown then that there's still tickets available for, on the disability end, what's been designated area?
If you've seen that, then yes, I would imagine so.
We're led to believe there is sufficient capacity for those that applied with disability. Simply that they deemed the appropriate documentation wasn't there to justify them being considered disability.
So what we'll be doing is asking UEFA that those fans are part of this second window as well, same as the others who should have been given priority.
Okay, could maybe we be kept informed and maybe where that is then?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rosie McCorney.
Gora Mayagara Carly, thanks for the presentation. I don't really have questions about that. I'd heard that story, but I was just wondering, Patrick, if I could just ask you about an incident where one of the spectators at a match was at the football club.
Really dealt with it.
Windsor. Right, okay. It happened some months back, and a person was injured at Cliftonville.
Sorry, Chairman,
that is
reported. Not, with respect, that is
yes,
not
I know,
relevant to what we're here to.
I think we have sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. So we're dealing here with a important issue.
understand.
Yeah, and
But it's just
sorry,
when Patrick's here.
Yes, Ms. McCorley, please. you would listen. The matter that you raised was discussed in the committee before. I'm sure it will be discussed again if you
It's
follow
just-
the right. Sorry,
Just while Patrick's
sorry.
here.
If you would, yes, I know. If you just let me share the meeting, listen.
think it's-
Sorry, you
I
may
think-
you may think I'm ruling. We'll stick to the issue
Chairman,
before us today.
Chairman, can I just introduce some facts to this issue? The game to which the member is referring to was a Northern Ireland Football League game. It was not organised by the Irish Football Association. So neither Mr Nelson or Mr Shaw will be able to answer those questions. That's to where those questions should be applied.
Sorry, if you'd follow on the questions about the ticketing.
You didn't stop him talking.
Sorry, yes, because he asked about the subject.
Oh, he
and
did.
sorry,
He
Mr
didn't
Party,
stop.
if you ask questions about the subject,
So I'm not allowed to ask about anything else, only the tickets?
that's what the item on the agenda is.
Yes, I know, but we have latitude at times in this
We
committee.
have also other items on our agenda, so if you have questions about the ticketing, please ask them.
I don't have a question. about
Okay, then we're back to William Humphrey.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Patrick, just in relation to the priority system and the loyalty scheme, we could just drill down in that a moment. On the back of the card, because I think that's the kernel of the issue, where lots of supporters who have got these campaign cards, who would have seen the card, and I think understandably seen the card as a loyalty card, because you got the card for this qualification Euros because you were in for the last previous game, I would imagine. Well, then, if that's not the case and heads are shaking, how did you get that?
The campaign card is is purchased for the 5 games in the
Yes.
Euro campaign.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, but because of the demand exceeding the supply in terms of seats because of the reconstruction of the ground, so I'm trying to drill down into how did the people who have these campaign cards get those cards over someone else?
Well, there was an opportunity for people to renew their campaign cards, but we also, and Heather might have more data on this, but we also have new campaign card holders from the last campaign.
Yeah, and I want to see, I think I've said this in the media, I want to see that being expanded. I want to see, when it's finished, 19,500 block bookers in the Green White Army, the maximum number, and the stadium then has to be expanded, great. But I'm simply making the point, how did you get one of these cards for the campaign that's just concluded? In fact, on the back, on the reverse of the card, each person with a card has an account number. Okay? So I wanted to ask as well, what information went into that account? And it says it expires in June 2016.
If I can just clarify, the card that Mr Humphrey's referring to is actually a match ticket, like a season ticket. So it's a ticket rather than a loyalty scheme card. So there's a barcode on the back, and whenever you arrive at matches, you scan it, and that's your method in. So if you buy a single ticket for a single game, you get a paper ticket, but it's the same sort of process. So it's actually a ticket, a season ticket. We refer to it as a campaign card, but it's not a loyalty card as such. The account number that you've mentioned on the back is the little 6-digit reference number that I referred to earlier. So the gentleman who books your campaign card on your behalf, all of his tickets are held within that account.
Okay.
So it's the lead name that we have on that account that account number refers to.
But what I'm trying to establish, Heather, is how did those who got these cards get those cards? Because the demand would have exceeded the supply. Because that's because of information the IFA would have had, is it?
So the campaign card was put on sale as per a season ticket before our campaign started in autumn 2014. So that summer, existing block bookers were given the opportunity to renew, and they purchased these. Once the existing fans had bought whatever tickets they wanted, the remainder of the tickets were put on sale, and new fans were able to buy campaign cards. So it was purchased as a ticket in advance of the campaign.
Yes, and that's what I'm simply trying to establish. There was were the people who were in the previous campaign, the World Cup campaign, prior to this Euro campaign, given priority?
They were given a priority window to purchase their tickets, but that number didn't exceed the number of seats in Windsor Park at that stage, so we were able to put new tickets on sale. So whether or not you've been a block booker from 10 years ago or from 2 years ago, you have that same little campaign card.
Right, so where is the loyalty system then?
So the loyalty
Priority
system
scheme?
is what we have built up before Christmas. This is simply a ticket that you use to get into the match. So if you arrive at a match I don't know from looking at your ticket or your card whether you've been coming for 2 years or 20. You know, that card is the same for anybody who chooses to buy a season ticket.
So how long, in terms of the loyalty system or scheme, how long does it go back?
So the loyalty system for this, for the Euro 2016 tickets, is what we put in place
So
before
it's just
Christmas.
for the Euros?
For the Euros, and anyone who renewed their campaign card from the previous
That's
campaign.
what I'm trying to establish from the World Cup, previous campaign.
If you renewed, you had a higher preference than somebody who was new?
Yes.
Yes.
So you would have had all that data?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So,
It
for
doesn't go
example,
back 20 years.
No, I appreciate that.
So,
Two campaigns, effectively.
2 campaigns, that's all I'm trying to establish.
as a concrete example, a new campaign card holder, so someone who got one of those for the first time would have had 13 points in our system. But a renewing campaign card holder, so someone who had been with us for the World Cup 2014 campaign, would have had an extra 3 points. That would have been up to 6.
Yeah, so that, those 2 campaigns is your
Baseline.
priority system or your loyalty scheme, whatever we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we've covered all the issues and every member's been able to ask questions then about the hearing issues. Thank you indeed for your presence with us today and for your clarity of the answers that you've given, and we wish the team well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Are there any actions that members wish to take, or are we content to leave it there at this point? Okay, David. Oh, sorry, I'll take him then. Right, David. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, right. Go ahead.
No, it's just moving forward from today and the information about further tickets becoming available. I think it's crucial that the best and maximum communication is between the association and the supporter base, to be honest. And I think we should, in any follow-up correspondence, just be highlighting the very need for that communication to be at the highest level.
Thanks. Yes.
Yeah, just to follow up on the disability points that I did make, I probably should have asked about the access to purchase tickets for maybe carers that are travelling along with those with a disability, and what provisions are in place for that. So maybe we could follow up on that information, please.
Chair, I think there's a system, and it might be useful then if the committee writes to the IFA to get clarity on just how that system works. But I think I seem to recall there was a system in place, and obviously then following up and asking the IFA to communicate very closely and very clearly with the supporters about what exactly the committee has heard today, because there's quite a lot of complex information there, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on then to our next item, which is the BBC Charter Renewal Clerks Update. Point 4.1, referring members there to the Culture, Media and Sport Committee report on the BBC Charter Review, which is at page 14 in the pack. And there's a decal response at point 4.2 in the tabled pack at page 9 regarding the Charter Review process and the draft outline on revised Memorandum of Understanding, which is marked as in confidence. Now, because of that, I would ask that you agree to return to this issue in the closed session at the end of the meeting, because it has been marked as in confidence. Brings us on then to item 5 there, with matters arising. Matters arising, point 4.5.1. Correspondence tracker is at page 80 on the pack, and outstanding correspondence is being pursued by the committee staff. Point 5.2 on page 82. Point 5.2, page 81 in the pack regarding a fans embassy at the 2016 European Championships. That issue was considered during the IFA briefing. Sorry, yeah.
No, I haven't. What are we doing?
Right, no. Sorry, go ahead, David. We're talking here about the Fans Embassy.
Page
81.
Page 81, to find it's right.
It's the, Chair, it's the response from the Minister
Yeah.
indicating her support to be involved in the issue of Fans Embassy. Members recall writing to the Minister about this.
That's right. I think the fans have been given a meeting date now with the department.
Yes, yes.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, so it's moving forward and hopefully moves in the right direction at this stage, yeah.
Yes. We'll see,
Describes fans and words, Chair. They're already working with the
But we
relevant.
don't want to get Van Zones mixed up with the Fans Embassy as such.
Okay.
You know, Fan Zones is a day out, better entertainment and
Yes,
whatnot
sorry,
stuff.
it's an additional.
The embassy is the Fans Embassy would be for those who get into difficulties, to be fair, you know.
Thank you.
Who need assistance.
Yes, Chair, it does. It mentions all the relevant parties. IFA, the French Security Foreign Office and so on.
Yes,
Police,
and I am
everybody.
that,
members are content then with that. Point 53 is the decal response at page 84. To page 84 there, which is in relation to the cultural programme. On receipt of previous correspondence, the committee felt it did not provide a detailed breakdown of the timeline of the delivery of the programme. So I know members took a keen interest in this issue before about the cultural programme. So if you turn to page 84 there and then into page 85, it lists there the Decal Cultural Arts Programme for 15-16, which is on pages 85, 86.
That goes right to 110.
Yeah, if you just take a moment to look through, if there are any issues, then people will have an opportunity to raise them. If it is subsequently that some members have issues regarding Belfast Comedy Festival. Yes, no, it's just some of the. Yeah. I'm not sure who runs the some of these, but it would be. There does seem to be, in some cases, not a great geographical spread or a very equitable geographical spread, but I think members may well want to come back to some of these again. Okay, if there's no questions at this point, we'll take that, note that. And we can return to it if necessary. Page 5, or point 55 is at page 115, referring members to the information provided by UTV at page 11. Sorry, Miss Bond, sorry, 54. Miss, oh yes. Correspondence from Decal at page 113 regarding papers for Dominic Walsh ahead of his briefing to the committee. That's page 3. Slight technical hitch. Anyway. In his reply, the Permanent Secretary states that Mr Walsh did not make a request for papers. Rather, he asked for a meeting with the department. This was declined as the department felt it would not be appropriate to meet ahead of an inquiry briefing. So that's the explanation that has been given by Dennis McMahon. Yes?
Well, we've got now a clear discrepancy or contradiction between two statements, so we probably now have grounds to get Mr Walsh back under oath.
I suppose the one difficulty is that we're having difficulty even getting the people who are already supposed to come back to come, and we'll return to that later. And at the rate that we're going and getting people here, I know you had asked previously about getting this matter to a conclusion as quickly as possible, but as you'll be aware from correspondence that you'll receive there, there is difficulty getting some of the witnesses to come, so we'll return to that later in the meeting.
So just on the same point, if I may, I brought up last week about maybe trying to bring meetings forward. So has the Minister been asked?
The Minister was sent an invitation as soon as the members had agreed that they wanted to bring Minister Rosalie Flanagan under oath or affirmation. That invitation was sent. We've offered a date. We haven't had confirmation yet.
And
I think the department had penciled the date in. We'd been working towards the 3rd. The problem with the 25th, which is next week, is there's an executive meeting in Enniskillen. Executive business prioritises over committee business, unfortunately.
And we're still haven't got a date from Jarlath Kearney.
I haven't had confirmation.
What about
from
the other
Rosalie
witness
Flanagan.
who was to come back under oath?
Rosalie Flanagan? I haven't had confirmation either.
We haven't heard from her at all.
Not a response. No, we know she's received the invitation. She got it
Well, he was
sometimes.
confirmed.
So they've received the invitation. We're waiting. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to, in terms of Mr McMahon's letter, I just wonder about the veracity of a permanent secretary declining a briefing to someone who was a chair of an arm's length body. I mean, does that happen, for example, if a former permanent secretary or deputy permanent secretary of a department is asked to appear in front of a committee that such a briefing is declined? Why on earth would such a briefing be declined whenever someone is coming in front of this committee? This committee is conducting a public inquiry, and we have a permanent secretary saying that they will not brief someone who was a chair, or the department will not brief someone who was the chair of an arm's length body within that department. Why would that happen? This is about drilling down and getting information into the public domain and establishing facts. And we have a department refusing to brief someone who was the chair of one of its arm's length bodies. Why?
One of the things that strikes me there is in the letter, Mr Walsh did not make a request to the Department for Information. Had he done so, it would have been considered in the normal way. It doesn't specify what the normal way is. Then it goes on to say he sought a meeting and this was not agreed. But no one knew whether the meeting was in fact to request documentation or not. Because we phoned in, wrote in, we would normally then say, well, what's it about? And he could say, well, he could have had the opportunity to say, I'm looking for information or anything documentation. Yes, I think that's a fair point. It's been suggested here that we forward Mr McMahon's letter to Mr Walsh to give an opportunity to see it, because he may not be following the business today.
Why not put it on the website?
Others didn't get it forwarded.
Well, I think it's been suggested. Sorry?
Put it on the website.
In fact, yes, because
Don't do that.
the other
The
thing, of
question
course,
needs to be asked of the permanent secretary. Why?
I think it highlights the fact that he wasn't given the same access to information, because they would have known what the meeting was about. It does seem a bit pedantic, to say the least. But yes, it can be put on the website. We'll forward it to him.
And can we ask Mr Walsh to come back under oath?
But we'll deal with, I think, the rate we're going, we'll not even get through all the people that are supposed to be coming under oath already.
No, I want to come in on that matter because it was discussed at this meeting, at the last meeting, and I've had a chance to review the Hansard published in last week's pack of Mr Walsh's contribution. And it clearly states there, in response to a question from me about when he was meeting, and he said he was meeting on a regular Friday meeting. Now, I have questions for both. There is a clear discrepancy because the details that I've got here.
Right, we'll be coming to that when we get the.
Well, do you know what? This is an issue here where people want to bring people to the back to the meeting, and I'm telling you, and I don't know how many votes they've got over there, but I will be voting to bring people back. I want to get Dominic Walsh back. I'm dealing with this under correspondence or an issue in here. There's a clear discrepancy, and somebody's got a problem.
We haven't got the correspondence yet, but we'll get to that.
It's another letter.
What are we dealing with now, matters?
We're dealing with. We're in matters arising. We're at 5.4. The
matters
letter
arising from what?
From previous letters that have gone out. This
matters
is
arising from correspondence. and this is a matter arising from correspondence, and it's tabled here and discussed here now. Now, when you want to take it, I'm happy to let you, but I think that this is the appropriate time in the agenda to be dealing with it.
We have, we will get through all of these items and we will do it in the proper order. The point we're making here is simply that we have had the correspondence back from Mr McMahon, which informs us of his understanding of the situation. The matter is further down again. In fact, I can see here in my notes where it is. It's item 5.6. We will come to that very shortly. But just if we do things in the proper order, all we're simply doing is noting that we have a piece of information here from Mr McMahon in this letter, and we'll come back to it when we get to item 5.6.
Coming back to this?
Yes.
Well, I haven't moved off on Mr McMahon's letter then.
Right, okay.
On that issue.
Right.
Is it your recollection, Chair, that when the previous Permanent Secretary, Mr May, I think, was in front of us, that he was afforded access to minutes and information?
A number of the people who have been before us have been given access to information, yes.
Do we actually have a correlation of who was afforded information? Because there were some people that were and some people that weren't.
I suppose you could dig through
We could try and put that,
or
yeah.
we could ask it as a question, just because the department have a very simple record of that.
Well, let's just could we ask the department on the basis of this,
certainly,
that all people that have requested access either in meetings or to papers, and whether they were facilitated or denied.
That's fine. Members agreeable? Yep. Thank you. Brings us on then to item 5.5. It's the information provided by UTV at page 115 in the pack following their briefing last week. Members had sought numbers of shareholders, and that information has been provided. Don't know if any members wish to raise anything in regard to that.
Anything on that?
Brilliant. Okay, content with that. Okay. No. Sorry?
No.
No.
Night, every night.
Right, okay. Then brings us then to page 18 in the tabled pack.
Yeah.
What is the
hard copy in front?
Thank you. Page 18 in the tabled pack is the notes of meetings, Casement Park inquiry. Comes from the Dallow, thanking us for the letter dated the 1st of February.
It's good of them to come last week, Dallow. It's good of them to come last week.
In his statement, Mr Walsh stated he attended regular meetings with the Minister. Further stated one of these meetings in the summer of 2012, the issue of emergency exiting was mentioned, along with the purchase and demolition of 4 houses. You've asked for copies of the notes of these meetings, which has carried out a search of the Minister's diary. This recorded that in that time the Minister had 3 scheduled meetings with Mr Walsh as follows. Wednesday the 15th of February, Wednesday the 28th of February, and Wednesday the 2nd of May. That is in 2012. And also then the 2nd of May with Rosie Flanagan and Colin Watson. No minutes were taken at these meetings, and a search of the filing system in the department has revealed no record. They're in the diary, but there's no record of them. No notes were taken. Informal notes may have been taken, but if so, these have not been retained within the department. Seems to suggest to me they were destroyed.
Funny that.
Two
members.
Sorry.
Ms McCord.
Got a number of people in, yes. Rosie McCord first.
Okay. There's a discrepancy. Well, there's issues about meetings, and there's 3 meetings specified here by the department, and there's other people mentioned. So I think we need to hear from those people what their recollection is.
I think one of the issues here, and it does get difficult at times, sometimes meetings would be organised with on a regular basis with officials, and it may be that the minister's SPAD would be there if the minister isn't there, because that would be just normal practice. If a minister can't maybe get to a certain meeting, SPAD might be there. So I think in all of this, it'll be really important that we get the evidence from the minister's SPAD, Jarlath Kearney, as soon as possible, because he may be able to fill in. And I think also it'd be useful how many meetings the.
No, he's not named there.
Sorry?
He's not named there, Chair. People are named there in those meetings.
No, but what I'm saying is just I happen to know if ministers don't go to meetings, sometimes a SPAD will go in their place to look after it. So it'd be useful when he comes that we'll be able to ask him. Because we were told, I think, at least an understanding is that, recollection of it, that he wasn't at all the meetings. But the main issue would be for a chair of a board or an arm's length body to have a meeting. The key person there is the permanent secretary, Rosalie Flanagan. So getting her back will be important to this. It is disappointing, as was said earlier, that he wasn't given access to, or didn't have access to papers, but then in some cases there wouldn't be any papers because there were no notes taken or not kept. I would have thought that we maybe need to, could I suggest we write back to the department, because our question was regarding meeting with the minister. There's also the question of meetings with the permanent secretary. So could we have details and notes of the meetings with the permanent secretary? Because I think that would be also important to find out. I think it was very difficult for a man who, this is really 3 years ago. I have difficulty, I'm sure you have difficulty, remembering details of something that happened exactly 3 years ago, unless it was something quite outstanding, such as knocking down houses. Would members be agreeable to that we write and ask for those details of other meetings?
Yep.
Okay.
You're getting a little bit. You're getting a little. We're actually reaching conclusions with what we do before we've quite talked through some of the issues. So whilst I'm in favour of doing what you're doing, there are certain issues that I wish to add about information.
That's fine. We'll be going through everybody now. Cathal Hutchins. Sorry, Rosemary McCurdy first.
Just in relation to the other people I mentioned, are they going to be asked to come because they were clearly at meetings?
We'll need to decide what they're going to do. Can we talk about these and then come back to that? Because this
we'll come back to that insofar. I just simply point out decision had been taken some time ago that for health or such reasons, Eamon McCartan, who's mentioned there, he had declined, had he? Or?
Chair, he had indicated that there was ill health and members had accepted that.
Okay. Rosalie Flanagan there, we're trying to get. Colin Watson and Mick Corrie are still within the system, I assume?
Yes,
so,
no, Colin Watson's retired.
Oh, Colin Watson's retired. Oh, yes, that's right.
Like McCorry's been...
the pigeons.
He is moving.
Ordnance survey.
Dealing with pigeons these days.
And what are we saying about Eamon McCartan?
He's
health issues,
unwell, and members had
Not
agreed
available?
previously to call it because
He's not, sorry, I can't really hear.
He was over.
it's something.
I just want to be clear what's going to be happening. He's not going to be called.
Can we deal with that in the closed session? It's just there's personal information there, so I just want to be careful about that.
Okay. Okay, then brings me on. Next person is Cathal Hutchins.
Yes, Chair, just about your earlier throwaway comment about minutes being destroyed, I think totally prejudicial to this. And, the fact is that the letter here states that no meeting took place in the summer of 2012. So no minutes may exist.
Just before we come to
put that on record, you just said. I would just want to put that on record.
You've said it, so it is there on record. Okay. Basil McRae.
So, from the official report, I asked Dominic Walsh, was the meeting that took place with the Minister and the Permanent Secretary a formal meeting? He replied, it was an update meeting. As time progressed, the meetings became more frequent. In the absence of the Chief Executive, it was absorbing more of my time. There was the Friday meeting. That is how I would describe it. So I said, how often were you in a pivotal position in the Friday meetings? He said, Mr Walsh said, it became a regular Friday meeting with the Minister and Permanent Secretary. If not every week, it was frequent. Now, that is a direct contradiction to these noted meetings in correspondence, which are all on a Wednesday. And I want to inquire, not only do I support the fact that we would bring back Dominic Walsh and the Minister, but I would like a very specific inquiry to the Minister's diary about, was she doing other things on the Fridays during this? Was there no meeting whatsoever with Mr Walsh on any Friday at any time? Because she must have been doing something else.
Okay, and tying in with that, to inquire about meetings that he had with the Permanent Secretary. If we put all these things, bundle them together, a series of requests for information.
I just want to be quite specific, though.
Yes. They'll all be separated.
If there is other, I'm sure that the Minister was not taking the Friday off, so she will have been doing something on the Friday, and I would like to know if there are other things. So we need to make sure that it's phrased in that way.
Okay. We'll come back to the wording of the questions before we just tie the thing up at the end, Mr Humphrey.
Yeah, I have certain sympathy with what Basil's saying, and I'll return to that in a moment. But in relation to this letter sent to Peter by the Permanent Secretary, and then this one in relation to meetings, I think it's unfair, and I will not support Mr Walsh being brought back to this committee if Mr Walsh is being denied access to information. The man is placed at a disadvantage, and we need to deal with that in correspondence. I accept that. I am broadly supportive of what Basil is supporting, but I won't support it if the department are not allowing the man to get access to information. Now, if there are meetings held, and it states that 3 meetings were held on Wednesdays, and there's no information, is it perhaps, and we can only speculate on these things, this is the problem, we can only speculate because we don't know. We can only speculate because the information has not been retained by the department, whatever that means. So we need clarity around these issues, and we need certainty. And for Mr Walsh to come back here and give certainty around the issues and the questions that Mr McCrae asked him, he needs access to that information. And it's not fair to ask him to come back if he doesn't have access to that information, because he can only give the same answers. So I'm broadly sympathetic to what you're saying, but only if he gets access to the information and to papers from the department, if indeed those papers exist. And if those papers don't exist, why do they not exist? That question needs to be asked as well.
If you look at the 3 meetings that are listed there was a meeting on the 15th of February, a business plan for Sport NI to 12-13, business plan follow-up meeting with the Chair, the Chief Executive of Sport NI, the Permanent Secretary and the Minister. And I just find it utterly astounding that no record exists of that meeting. Because the business plan of Sport NI is one of the key core documents for any arm's length body. And if that's been discussed by the Chair and the Chief Executive, and then on the other hand from the department side by the Permanent Secretary, the Minister, supported by Mick Corrie, it just seems utterly incredible that neither the Permanent Secretary or Mick Corrie took any notes or record of the meeting, or if they did, it says informal notes may have been taken, but if so, these have not been retained within the department. But if they were taken and they don't exist anymore, then they were destroyed.
Yep.
You may have thrown them in the bin, you may have shredded them, you may have burned them, but they were destroyed. That's quite incredible, eh? Gordon Dunn.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was a lot of sympathy with what you're saying. I think what is important as well is that we establish what the policy is within DCAL on the retention of documents. There should be a clear policy, and is this in line with the policy on how documents are retained? And it is. I take it's all related to the Casement Park inquiry. So documents,
No, these documents, these were meetings.
right?
But even if it's a minute or a note about a meeting about the business plan, that's a hugely important document.
The Casement Park would be part of the business plan. Could well be.
I don't know.
But
we can ask, in addition to the other information, we could ask, what is the policy of the department on retaining?
no, we want to ensure that this is compliant with the policy document. I take it there's a policy document on retention of documents. If there's not, there should be within decal. Perhaps there isn't. But to me, it sounds very convenient that these documents are not to be found, Chair, at this particular time.
Okay, we'll ask about that. Oliver McMullen.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I didn't hear, or I can't remember, could you tell me, did Mr Walsh himself have any records of his meetings? Did he take records himself of his meeting?
It wouldn't be normal, I would have thought, for the chair of the body to take minutes. Generally, it would be unofficial.
Would he not have written up a record, a summary of the meeting?
I wouldn't expect a chair to do that. I think that's more probably something that would be done by the executive.
Right, or even maybe would he have passed it on for maybe even the secretary to write up a summary of the meeting? Would that be possible to find out, Mr Walsh? And the second question is, when we talk about the meetings with the Minister in 2012, would this be the same for all meetings with ministers that Mr Walsh met? And I'm talking about yourself, Chair, at the time that you were the Minister. Mr Walsh, whenever I asked him here, did not have a great recollection of what he talked about, but did remember talking about, was it the sport and fire games or something? So, could we maybe find out, did you yourself keep records of meetings when you met with officials?
Well, a couple of points there. First of all, if a minister is meeting with officials or with others, arm's length body, notes would normally be taken by the minister's PS, or in some cases by the chief executive, or sorry, with the permanent secretary. So no, it wouldn't be taken by the minister himself or herself normally.
So then there would be records then of your meetings with Mr Walsh?
I have no knowledge of what the department has done with any documentation, because you're about a previous mandate, and there are issues, as you'll be aware, about the papers from one mandate, one minister.
Well, I'm not asking what they've done with what to do with the records. I'm just asking you, would you have any recollection, was anybody sitting taking notes when you were having a meeting with officials?
The difference, I think, is, was anybody sitting taking notes when I was meeting with
whatever way they do it?
About who? About what?
If you are having a meeting as a minister with officials, did you have somebody there taking notes of the meeting, or did you have meetings that there was no records kept?
If it was a proper meeting there, a PS would normally take minutes, or did not take minutes, take a note of the meeting.
So there'll be notes of your meetings with Mr Walsh then?
I can't recall.
Should be?
Sorry, well, first of all, we're dealing here with an issue of emergency exiting. As was stated by several people, the emergency exiting issue did not arise in any discussions that I had with anyone.
Even the business case?
The member seems to forget, or maybe not appreciate, that the outline business case is different from the full business case. The outline business case is quite broad and mainly a sort of ballpark figure of the cost of the thing, but not into the detail. You only get to that when you actually have drawings, diagrams, understanding of the stadium.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Can
we find out, if we're finding out about the Minister here, can we find out in your time, is there any notes from your time?
It is utterly irrelevant to us. And I know there's a fishing expedition that some people are trying to go on, but I think they're going to be coming home without any catch. Rosie McCorley?
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Carly. I mean, I just want to go back to the point was, I think Mr Walsh does need to come back. There's complete discrepancy about what was a meeting, what was the status of the meeting, was there a note, was there not? It just is obvious to me that we just need to hear, if we're hearing from one set of people, their view, we need to hear from Mr Walsh under oath, the same way, just so we can get clarity.
Thank you, Mr Humphrey.
Yeah. Chair, in business you've to retain documents for 7 years. It is outrageous if a government department has not retained documents after a period of what could be 5 years. 4 years. 4 years. Now, I think that's outrageous, and in itself is an indictment of the department.
Incompetent.
The other thing I would say is, in terms of Mr Walsh, I put directly to Mr Walsh about your involvement in terms of the business case, emergency acting, all of that. And members, that's on the records, members should read it. The other thing that strikes me about this letter, are we seriously to believe that the Minister only dealt with this issue for 3 months? You know, what on earth was going on? That a meeting was held on the 15th of February, the 28th of March and the 2nd of May. You know, so, I mean, you know, if this issue around it was so important, as the Minister keeps telling us it is, to the Executive, where was the Minister on these meetings? And why, again, have we no record of them? But only 3 meetings over a 3-month period, in the entire period from January to December 2012. 3 meetings. So, to cut to the chase, we will support Mr. McCrae's proposal that Mr. Walsh be brought back to the front of this committee if Mr. McCrae amends the thing to include information being freely given to Mr. Walsh to allow him to come back and answer the questions Mr. McCrae put to him, because otherwise, unless that information, as I said earlier, given to him, the man can't do that.
Well, what would be, and in that would mean access to all the notes or whatever of course, there may not be any papers, the way things are being retained or not.
Then there's no point.
So, could we ask that he's given access to whatever papers he requires and requests? Okay. And could we also then just ask for the dates of all the meetings that Mr. Walsh had with the Permanent Secretary over that? Okay, Mr. McMullen.
Just quickly, are we talking about Mr. Walsh going back under oath?
Yes.
So then we can't start setting out the parameters of what he can or what he cannot say. If the man is coming here under oath, then the man has, it's up to whatever he is asked of them in the day.
No, sorry, just a point of information, because it's an issue that has been dealt with at the Chairperson's Liaison Group recently. Particularly if someone is being brought before a committee under oath, they have to be given in advance, and I think
that's a
Peter
procedure, Chair,
there is a
we
procedure.
issue to members.
Been talking, yeah, members were given, in fact, that information. That's correct. So if you check back through your papers, Mr. McMullen, you'll find that the member, if a person is being brought as a witness under oath, they have to be very clear about the issues and the aspects of the matter on which they're going to be questioned.
I appreciate that, Chair, and I take that from yourself as Chair, but I can't take it from Mr. Humphreys, who seems to be all the time here directing this committee as to the way he thinks it should be done.
He has as much right as anybody else to express.
He's sounding like a Batman for you here. Everything is asked of you, he jumps in right away. He's the proverbial goalkeeper. In case anything goes wrong with the Minister, Mr. Humphreys dives in and saves the day.
Chairman, I hung my gloves up some time ago. Can I just say, there is an issue of natural justice here. And if the member across the way doesn't understand it, you cannot ask someone to come back to a public inquiry under oath and answer questions that have already been put to him that he has stated he couldn't answer. And then we find out he couldn't answer them, some of them, perhaps all of them, because he couldn't get access to the department. Now, why would you bring him back under the same basis where he couldn't get access to the department and papers that would be required for him to give a full an honest and accurate account of what happened. You wouldn't do that. None of us would be expected and want to be put in that position, and we shouldn't put Mr Walsh in that position either. That's called justice.
Anything else would be something of a kangaroo court.
Indeed.
That sounds pure justice.
Thank you. Right, we've had all of the contributions, I think. Now we've put it all together.
Just in putting it all together, if we could just talk about witnesses here, referring to the official report of the 4th of June 2015, when Mr Peter May was in front of us, and he was asked a question by you, Chairman, and he says, I would have received very regular updates from the programme team, often on a very informal basis. They would have called up, and I would have called down once or twice a week to see things are going on, and he discusses about the records that he has with his team. Afterwards, it also goes on, as you asked him a question about the ministerial interaction. What I would be anxious to find out is if there are any minutes, notes or whatever from those interactions, and in particular I'd like Mr Peter May in front of us so that he could answer how things were done when he was Permanent Secretary. So if we could add Mr May to the list of people that we bring back, because there does seem to be a different type of operation going on in place.
Say one word of caution in all of this, and we are penciling in meetings on Tuesday afternoons, because I know there's issues on Tuesday mornings. There will be 1 or 2 Tuesday afternoons where the Minister will have questions, and we therefore all want to be in the chamber for those oral questions. But on other Tuesday afternoons, we'll endeavour to put those in, because when you then count up, we'll be bringing back, or we haven't had yet, Jarlath Kearney. Then we'll have the Minister, Rosalie Flanagan, Dominic Walsh, and if we add Peter May, that would be 5. So you can only really deal sometimes with one person on a particular day. Otherwise, rushing to support the Thursdays and the Tuesdays, hopefully we'll be able to do it. Yes, Karen.
Mr. I really don't agree with meeting on the Tuesdays in order to give this inquiry, because it's a sitting day for the Assembly, which is the most important business. I sit in the Business Committee. We have to sit on Wednesdays for having 3 days a week, probably from now until the end of the mandate, in order to get business done in the Assembly. How do you expect members to be able to come in and listen to important information on a Tuesday when it's a sitting day and with chamber duties?
Chair, if I could just clarify, what we've actually done is we've programmed 3 Tuesdays, the 1st, the 8th and the 15th. What we've moved into the Tuesdays is the other business. So we have things like briefings from Libraries NI, Arts Council are scheduled. The SR that's coming to is scheduled for one of those as well. Preliminary looking at the legacy report. There's still a lot of those things need to be done, and if we're bringing all these witnesses back on Thursdays, that business needs to be done somewhere. We've moved it into a Tuesday, because that's what I'm being asked to make all this business happen. And Chair, that was all I could really do with it.
I appreciate the point that Mr.
If we're sitting on Wednesdays in the chamber, you know, in order to get extra business done, maybe we should consider Wednesday.
And Wednesday mornings, some people have committees.
Committees here Tuesdays as well.
Yeah, Tuesday morning.
Chairman, and some of us here 4 days a week at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's right. Well, so we'll have to. It's not ideal, and I appreciate that. Just we are restrained. We're constrained by the time.
Chair, just on there, some of us have committee meetings on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, that's right.
The Deputy Committee, the Chair of the Senate.
We've gone for lunchtime primarily, I think.
Just to bring up, at the 8th of March is the final stage of the Rural Needs Bill, and members here need to be in that. So I would ask you to look at that again on that particular day.
Well,
Chair, can I just say that getting rooms has been incredibly difficult. So what we've actually got, we've kind of block booked in advance, and I know we're now being jostled by other committees as well. There are only certain times we can get rooms we need. and the facilities we need in terms of Hansards and so on, because they'll obviously be in plenary, which is why we've still focused on things that need to be Hansarded on the Thursdays. So, Chair, we are really attempting to do as much as we possibly can under very difficult circumstances and in a very limited space of time. And with additional witnesses being discussed today, that's going to become extremely difficult.
Okay.
I just need to be honest.
We will just keep going and doing what we can in the circumstance as best we can.
It's up to members to pop in and out, Chair, as we do on other committees.
Okay, brings us on then. We've got a list of information. Sorry, yes?
Look, just before we conclude on that, Mr Walsh, the notes of meetings, did he ask for notes of meetings?
Obviously got a message.
Well, we're not privy to the conversation that he had with whoever he spoke to in the department.
So that's why I think he needs to come under oath.
And sorry, and
I'm quite happy to say, from first principles, it is quite reasonable. If a gentleman is coming in front of this committee and there are notes, he should have access to them. And I think I agree with the member opposite that the gentleman should come back. But I do think if there are notes, he should have access to them. But I don't see why the department would not give it to him.
Yes, but what the responsible department says is that there aren't any notes.
Yes, indeed.
And that's one of the amazing things.
I mean,
it doesn't matter if there aren't notes.
Chair, can I just clarify?
If he's not being brought back under oath because of non-existent notes, on what basis? Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
The issue of whether there were notes or not isn't relevant to that point. The point is that he needs to come back under oath because he has said something which contradicts what the department is saying.
And that is correct, and that is why he's been brought back, and that is agreed. Whether you do it as an amendment or whatever, I will definitely be proposing that we write to the department and ask that they provide Mr Walsh with the notes that he has requested. There is absolutely no question in my mind that if there are notes of his meeting, he should have access to them before he comes in front of us.
Oh no, get money out of it.
I think what he was probably, if I was in his position, I would be looking for was, can you recall, have you details of, may not be notes of me, when the meetings took place, who I met, and so on, because those are the sort of things that after 3 or 4 years would prompt your memory. So whatever he requires, that's fine.
But Chair, let's get it, because I don't think it is actually absolutely clear here for some members. This man cannot and should not be brought back unless he's access to papers. Because he can't corroborate things without the minutes of meetings or notes of meetings that he may well be questioned on. If members ask him questions, as I have no doubt they will, on meetings, which he's being denied access to the minutes of, if indeed there are not minutes or notes of those meetings, how on earth can he answer them?
Do we have any?
Because we've got a situation here. We've got a situation here where we're being told that some notes have not been retained of meetings. Now, you know, this is an inquiry been going on for some time now, and we're finding out that meetings around issues that I'm sure emergency exiting, I'm sure the business case would have been discussed at these meetings, and notes haven't been retained. You know, just grasp the import of that, an admission from the department. So, you cannot, it is not fair, the man asked to be brought back, if he has not access to what is crucial information and ultimately crucial evidence to be put before this committee. Because if he doesn't answer those questions, members will then allow conclusions to be made that the man is being evasive, when he's simply not. And of course this is going out into the media, and there are implications for him and his reputation. So if information is not being provided, it is not fair. It's just simply not fair to ask the man to come back.
Let me just clarify.
Sorry, just before we get
now, Mr Humphrey put it in on my point, so I think I should be able to respond. I'm still speaking. Let's just be clear about it. We need clarity about what the status of those meetings were. we have it from the department that there was no minute taken, and there's some uncertainty about whether there's any note of it. So we're saying then that Mr. Walsh will not be asked back because he's hasn't got access to the notes. If there does not seem to be any clarity of whether there were notes or not, so he does need to come back, because there is claim and counterclaim. There's certainly questions around the status of the meetings. So what we're saying is he's not being given, well, some people are saying he's not being given access to records. What it said here is there is no record. So
And that is the scary thing about this.
Well,
and
that's another
one of the
issue.
most worrying things, because one wonders what happened to the notes that were taken at these meetings.
Well, that is a different issue, and that's something.
It's a very big issue too.
Okay, but I'm just saying that
Who took the notes and who destroyed them?
you said there were notes. That's a different issue.
I would be astounded if any senior official in any department walks into a meeting with a minister there and with a senior official or a chair from an arm's length body and doesn't have a bit of paper and a pen in their hand.
Well, then,
astounded.
Be astounded, but ask the questions
Well,
of
I am
the people who
astounded.
were there. Well, surely.
And I'm right
Mr.
to be.
Walsh,
Indeed, I am right to be. We should all be astounded.
But we have got discrepancy here over, obviously, the status of these meetings as well.
Okay.
So we need Mr. Walsh to come back.
Well, first of all-
He's the one sitting making the big claim.
I think
And
Tell the truth.
we need
Sorry, the big claim is.
Tell the truth, that is.
houses being demolished.
It's the big claim, not the minister.
Wouldn't know what it was.
Sorry, hold on. One at a time. Not of four people speaking over each other. That's Alderman McMullen.
Can I ask, where does the word deny come from? Maybe I've missed it here somewhere. He was denied reports.
It's denied a meeting.
Can I ask Mr. Humphreys? He's after making the claim that he was denied papers or reports, whatever way.
I think it's very clear. I think Mr.
No,
Mr.
that's
Walsh-
a very,
sorry,
very
Mr.
strong
McMahon.
word.
Sorry,
He
just a
did
moment.
say that. Yep.
Very clear in this letter, Mr. McMahon, that Mr. Walsh was denied a meeting. Okay.
Chairman, can I?
Members here have said he was denied reports.
Sorry.
Denying papers was
One
said.
person's word against other people's.
Denying papers, I think, was what was said.
Mr. Humphrey.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to talk about Mr. McMahon's letter later in correspondence, so I'm happy to deal with that then.
Okay.
But look, the letter here from Mr. McGee at the department states, members, if they haven't read it, as Mr. Walsh pointed out, no minutes were taken at these meetings, and a search for the department's filings through the search of the department's filing system has revealed no record. Informal notes may have been taken by officials present, but if so, they have not been retained.
We don't know if there's notes.
Well,
no, sorry, that tortured paragraph or
That's
sentence
different than denying papers.
actually confirms or denies nothing. It confirms.
You're using the word.
Sorry, Mr.
You can
McMullen.
barrack me all
Please.
day. I'll still make my point.
Yeah, you'll make us
No doubt
point.
you will, no doubt you
Mr.
will.
McMullen, if you stop chittering over there and let him speak.
The fact of the matter is, it says here no minutes were taken at these meetings, according to this. But then there's a search of the department's filing system that revealed no record. Informal notes may have been taken, but these have not been retained. Now, what is that from a government department? On a crucial issue that we're discussing here around emergency exiting, which no doubt could well have been discussed at those meetings, whether it's in the business plan or whether it's emergency exiting. That is pathetic.
Well, that's why I think it's important that we actually write to the department and ask for the dates of all the meetings between the chair, Sport NI, and the permanent secretary, because the permanent secretary would be the permanent figure in these engagements. The minister will be at many meetings or few meetings, depending on how embedded they are and engaged with the department, and depending on other business that takes up their time. But the permanent secretary is permanent; they're there all the time, really. And it seems truly alarming. We need to find out: was it the practice in the department to hold meetings like this, but nobody takes any notes, minutes, nobody has a bit of paper? There's nothing. This is just quite...
Look at the way Paul,
Yes, sir.
people were making all sorts of allegations and remarks about Paul Scott.
About in relation to paperwork?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
When you talk about how people carry out their business, whenever they come, you know, you can go on and on about how
So
shocking
we
it
have
is.
the written evidence
Yeah.
already. Okay, we need to be clear as to what we're going to do then. So, Basil McCrae, back to yes.
So, I would like to propose that we would call Dominic Walsh back under oath.
Yep.
And I'd like to propose that the department facilitate him with providing whatever notes that they have or information regarding to his as chair.
That's okay. Yep.
There is a process which I'll refer Peter to explain just about the process of bringing someone here under oath, because we did go through a whole process previously about bringing someone here under oath. It's just you can't just sort of we're not able just to throw it straight in. Peter, please.
Chair, as members had seen before, there's a process that has to be gone through, part of which is stating specifically for the record and members agreeing to specifically why the person is being brought back under oath or affirmation, and that is the particular area they are then alerted in the letter of commissioning them to come, that they are being brought under oath for that specific reason, and those are the issues that will be dealt with. It is a very specific process in terms of that, and so that needs to be
Being
stated.
specific, you can say, right, on the official record, right, you stated it became a regular Friday meeting with the Minister and Permanent Secretary. This is in contradiction to the letter received from the department, which is the letter received today. Therefore, we'd like to call you back under oath to discuss this inconsistency. We will also write to the department informing them that they should facilitate any request that you might have for notes or other information on meetings.
Yeah, but what happens is, I mean, one of this is slight difference in how Basil sees it or nuance or whatever. I think we need to get this absolutely clear and tied down. But what I was saying earlier is he should only be brought back under oath if he is given access to those papers or given a meeting. I mean, is that what you're saying?
I would be astonished if the department, having had a direct request from us, if you want to put in the word, would meet with Mr. Walsh and provide whatever documentation that he has, because they can certainly have a meeting. Would that be satisfactory?
Yeah, I think that's better, because I genuinely don't think you can bring someone in here.
Okay, but if we've got it, if that's okay, is it okay to cross the table? Yes, it's okay across the table as well.
Okay.
That's agreed.
We'll add Mr. Walsh then to the list of people on that basis who are brought back under oath. So we've now got 4 people at this point.
3.
Oh, sorry, 3. That's right. The first person that's coming, or the first person was asked, has not as yet been with us. So that's fine.
Okay, so that's agreed.
Sorry, yeah.
That's agreed.
Yeah.
At some stage, you don't have to do it now, but at some stage, I have made a request that Peter may, because he is relevant. I think we've agreed that as well. Peter May.
Under oath, or
I don't mind whether he's under oath or
sorry,
not.
just ask him for
Me too, yeah.
Okay. Have you asked for? Okay. That's fair enough. And could we also then write just and ask for dates of all meetings between the Permanent Secretary and Mr. Walsh, and in that context, are there notes of those meetings? We're not saying we'll want them necessarily initially, but at least we get them. Because this is what.
Can we just make it specific, though? I'm happy to accept that. You know, that's fine. But I want to. I laboured the point about the Friday meetings.
Yes.
Chair, just what I would say about that is traditionally for a minister, Friday's constituency day, so there may be things in the diary that are for constituency, and I don't know about disclosability, but you're specifically wanting to focus on Friday.
If the Minister can answer in whatever way that she thinks is appropriate, I want to ask a specific question about, I want a written answer about Friday meetings with Mr Walsh, or in the alternative, if the Minister can provide, if she can provide details of other diary commitments that she might have had.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair. Is Basil asking for the Minister's Friday diaries? Because
Only
this is what makes this more.
only if she-
This
only if
is
she
what
wishes-
makes these claims more astonishing. Is that these meetings were claimed on a Friday.
Cathal, the point I'm trying to make through you, Chair, is the Minister, for all I know, may well have an extensive diary and she should say, look, I couldn't be doing this on Friday because I was doing this and this. I don't know. What I would like to give is her the opportunity to say, here is information. As the clerk has pointed out, if there are issues that you can't answer or it's not appropriate to answer, fair enough. But the question comes down here. This specific thing is, there is no Friday mentioned in the report, in the letter from the department.
Okay.
No, that's fair enough.
So, and we're also agreed that there be the letter then requesting the dates of the meetings, who attended the meetings between Dominic Walsh and the Permanent Secretary, who else was at any of those meetings, because the SPAD may have been at those meetings. That would not be unusual. And also, are there notes, has the department retained notes of any of those meetings, or minutes, or papers?
You got it?
Yeah. Okay.
Taking it in turns.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
That's great. Okay, thank you.
At last.
Brings us on then to, sorry, next page here.
Top of 5, top of
Yeah, we're back to hurling. Research paper at page 119 in the pack regarding hurling and the implications following its recognition, or I think it's actually a request for recognition at this point, by UNESCO. The Minister for Arts, Heritage and the Gaeltacht in the Irish Republic stated that the GAA would be applying for UNESCO recognition. I think it's actually the government has to apply, but anyway, for the sport of hurling under the Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Culture and Heritage, and the application would be considered in March 2016. Which is next month.
Noted.
Endorses them, but I think the GA would
Oh,
develop it.
they develop it, but it actually has to be submitted.
Yeah, I think so.
GA plan to submit their application to the Department of Arts and the Gaeltacht before the end of February. Once approved, it will then go forward to UNESCO. You note that. Point 6.2. Ferry members to OFM DFM corresponds at page 130 in the pack regarding the pilot project evaluation of the cross-community youth sports programme. Look at that. Oh yes, sorry. Sorry,
You were open, and if just a second.
Yeah. Pilot programme of 12 weeks include a range of activities for young people in the Falls and greater village areas, presumably adjacent, therefore, to Windsor Park and Casement Park. The results highlighted an improvement in relations with young people of different religions, improved employment prospects for young leaders. It is planned to revisit the areas in 12 months' time to monitor changes. Are we content to note that? Point 7.1, Chairperson's business. Ferry members, they invited page 228 from DCAL to the Minister's reception to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Northern Ireland Women's Football Association. The function is on the 8th of March at 6 o'clock in the Lone Gallery.
Great.
Forward work programme is at page 229.
Great.
And Clark, please.
Chair, I'm going to obviously now have to revisit that and redesign it. But if I give you some edited highlights of the Tuesdays, the way we'd work those for planning. Tuesday, I actually have times as well, if that's helpful to members. So Tuesday, the 1st of March, we've booked the Senate Chamber 12 until 3, and we have confirmation from the Strategic Investment Board that they will come and talk about the MAC issue then. So that's Tuesday, the 1st of March. The if I jump to the Thursday that follows that, we have the MAC representatives coming to talk about the MAC, so that will be the Thursday following, which will be the 3rd. Then the briefing from Sport NI's IELT, the interim executive management team, that was scheduled for today. They have completion of processes and paperwork, so that has now been moved into that Tuesday, the 1st of March also. So again, that's Senate Chamber, and we've booked it from 12 till 3. The Arts Council members had asked to bring them up over transfer of functions, so they have been slotted in for Tuesday, the 8th of March. Now that's also the Senate.
Thursday.
Is it?
Yes, and it says on the forward work programme that's a typo.
Oh, I saw this. Yes, I the 10th.
So
Thursday.
yes,
that's fine.
sorry. So Tuesday, the 8th of March. That's also the Senate Chamber. That's booked from 10:30 to 12:15. That's got the Arts Council in it for their transfer of functions. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head whether we put anything else into that one. Not that I'm aware of. So we go back and we now will probably fill the 15th. We have the 15th, Tuesday the 15th of March booked. Again, Senate, 12 until 3, and we'll now extract further business and programme into that. Try and rework the Thursdays, so we'll come back to members with a new forward work programme. We'll just have to see how we can rework that, Chair. It's going to be one of those things.
Okay. That deals with forward work programme. Any other business? None has been highlighted.
Chair, Ms. McCordy.
Okay, yes.
Sorry, Carly, I forgot to say during the correspondence section, there's a couple of responses outstanding from November. It's just that there's only a few weeks left of the mandate. Could we send a reminder letter?
We have been doing that, Chair. We'll continue and we'll send again. We'll chase it up again.
Okay.
Date and time of next meeting is Thursday the 25th of February.
Sorry, no, you see.
Sorry, in room 30 Parliament Buildings. Libraries and I will inform members of the transfer of functions process, and the committee has invited Rosalie Flanagan to brief the committee at this meeting. However, we're still waiting for her confirmation. Now,
this is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland